Morning. It is week 15, Saturday morning, day before Easter. Out here at Avon Bottoms this morning. It's kind of a natural area, public hunting, lots of native prairie kind of stuff around here. Beautiful area. Very quiet out here today. Not really sure what I'm looking for, but I am looking for something. I'd like to try to get some pictures of something out here. Not really sure what all it offers, but we're going to take a little hike here and see what we can find. Well, I've walked a couple miles back here and really hadn't found much of anything interesting. It's kind of windy out in the open. I'm kind of sheltered here in a little ditch, a little valley here. Got some trees around me, so it's somewhat sheltered. I did find something, and I think I'm going to try to set up on this. Let me flip the camera around here and show you. So I found this bird nest. It's kind of unique. It's pretty low to the ground, obviously long abandoned. But I'm going to try to get a really low angle shot on this with a very shallow depth of field. Not exactly sure if I'm going to use the 90 or the 210 because I'm probably going to get in a little close to it, so I may have to use the 90. We'll see. But I'm going to shoot it wide open, try to get some really good detail in the nest parts there, but try to blur out everything in the background. So we'll see what happens. Go ahead and get set up here. Get the camera and tripod all unpacked. And that's a wrap. I ended up shooting FP4 with a red 25 filter. I also shot 2 frames or 2 sheets of HP5 also with the red filter. Estimating, I added 1 stop for the filter, and I also added another stop for the bellows extension. And then on the HP5 I added 1 stop and 2 stops for the bellows extension. I only had one sheet of FP4, so we'll see what happens. But hopefully we got some good detail. The depth of field is going to be incredibly shallow. Everything in the background is just a nice creamy bouquet, however you want to say it. I'm going to pack up here and head back to the truck, about a mile from the car from where we parked. So go ahead and get out of here. It's actually really nice out here. It's nice and calm down here in this little valley. You get out there on top of this hill and it's a little bit let's go ahead and pack it up. Let's head to the dark room. So I've decided to take my week 15 photo of the bird's nest. Here it is in negative form. Opened up in Photoshop. This is a scan from the negative. What I've decided to do is make a platinum palladium print with this negative. Because of the process, you have to create a digital negative because the platinum process can only make contact prints. And I do want to enlarge it from the 4x5. So I'm going to make like an 11x14 print of this. So I've created a digital negative here in Photoshop. There's plenty of instructions online on how to do this. You do have to download a different curve, etc. Bostic & Sullivan, it's the place to go. They've got all the information. So anyhow, I'm going to skip that part of it and just get right into the print. So that's my digital negative. I'm going to print this out on my Epson P600. And we're going to get started on making a platinum print here. So let's continue. It's a very, very slow process printing these high resolution digital negatives on the Epson printer. but the results are pretty spectacular. So we'll give this here a couple more minutes and we'll get on to making a print. And there it is, the finished digital negative, sitting on top of a piece of burger cotton rag paper. I'm going to create the emulsion. We're going to brush that on there and let that dry. I'm going to expose this to UV light and we're going to develop. It's a pretty cool process. I really dig the alternative process printing, especially the platinum palladium. I think it produces some fantastic results. It's a little different than silver. I think the palladium actually has probably a greater tonal range of the grays than a standard silver gelatin print. Give it a shot here. Let's just see what's going on, and let's go ahead and make a print. So I've got my emulsion all mixed up here. How many drops of each solution? And that's from the Bostic and Sullivan chart right here, based on the size of my print. So I got my paper. It's a Burger Cotton 320. It's cotton rag, 100% cotton rag. That's really what you need for a platinum print. So to prepare this negative, or to prepare this print, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to mark the corners of my negative on here so I know approximately how far I need to spread the emulsion to get everything. And you can see that my negative has got a clear area around it. So I've got a little bit of extra space even after I marked it. So as long as I come close to those, I should have everything covered pretty well. So I've got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my formula down here in the corner so I know what I used for this negative. So I used PD3, used 26 drops, ferric oxalate number 1. I used 26 drops. And then the Na2, it's a sodium platinum. I used 13 drops. Don't know the exposure. I'll write that down after we figure that out. I'm going to sign my name down here at the bottom because this is fine art. I've also cut a small piece of the same paper and I'm going to coat so I can make a test strip. To get the exposure just right. So I've got my brush in the water here, just keeping it damp. And I'm going to go ahead and spread my emulsion on top of the paper here, saving just a little bit for that test strip. And then we're going to start spreading this out, letting it soak into the paper. It's really important that you get a nice even coating on this. Takes a couple of minutes. Just take your time. No hurry here. Just want to get a nice even coating of that emulsion. Let it all soak into that paper. You can see my marks on there, so I'm just getting kind of close to them. And when we frame this, most of that will probably be covered up anyhow, although I have framed a few where I leave the emulsion showing. I think it's kind of a cool feature of the platinum prints, but it's certainly not necessary. A lot of museums, their older platinum prints, they mat them out so you can't tell that they're platinum prints unless you lift up the mat. I can show you some that I've done in the past, and I think it's kind of cool to actually be able to see a little bit of the emulsion in the mat. Kind of a special little feature, and people will know that it's a platinum print. I think people that mess around with alternative processes will be able to tell right away that it's a platinum print. Just has a certain look to it. I find it very appealing. I like silver prints, but I am a real fan of these platinum prints. They just have so much depth to them. They have more tonal range than a silver print, I think. I think most people do. So that's what I really like about them. I think they just have real artistic flair to them, and they really look sharp. All prints or all negatives don't necessarily work well as a platinum. But when I saw that bird's nest one, I thought, boy, that would really look sharp as a platinum print. So that's what we're giving a shot here. So I got this pretty well smoothed out. It's going to take a while to dry, so it's probably going to actually be tomorrow before I actually make the print. I have dried this with a hairdryer to speed it up, but I do prefer to just let it dry naturally. So I'm going to put it in a dark closet overnight, let it dry down. It'll absorb what's left of that emulsion that might be sitting on top of the paper, although I think I've pretty well got it soaked in there. Looks pretty even. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the closet, let it dry, and then I'm going to coat up my test strip. Okay, so the print is in the closet. I made myself just a few extra drops of emulsion so that I can make a good solid test strip out of this. You get that exposure dialed in perfectly. It's been a little while since I've done a platinum print. When I was doing a lot of them, I had a pretty good idea what the development times were, exposure times. But it's been probably a year since I've made one, which is unfortunate because I really need to stay on top of this because it's such a fun, it's a really great process. I need to stay on top of it and do more of it. So maybe this will be the Kickstarter I needed. So there's our test strip. I'm going to put that in the closet as well. Let it dry down, and then we will make a test exposure on that tomorrow. And that should do it for today. We're going to, tomorrow we will be printing this negative, which is a bird nest, which is a 4x5 negative that I enlarged and made a digital negative using Photoshop, using some information from Bostic and Sullivan. They actually supply you a curve to change the colors or change the shades a little bit, and they've done the research and they know that that curve will produce the best print. So that's what I use, and tomorrow, after that emulsion is dry, we're going to use our UV exposure unit, and we will make some prints, or a print. All right, so we finished our test strip. I found that I'm going to use about a 10-minute exposure. So I'm going to go ahead and write the exposure time on my paper here, so I know in the future exactly where we are, exposure time. So now I have my formula, how many drops of each chemical I put in there, and my exposure time on the coated piece of burger cotton rag paper. Here's our digital negative. So we're going to go ahead and put that. This is basically just a 1/2-inch piece of foam board I'm using. I'm going to put the negative on here, but first I'm going to make sure we have no dust or any specks on there. Just going to wipe that off real quick. It should be pretty good, but you never know. I'm going to line my negative up to the marks that I made on there when I was coating, or before we coated, just so I knew how far to take the emulsion out to the edges. And I've got a freshly cleaned piece of glass here. I'm going to lay on top of that. And that's going to give us a nice little sandwich. Negative, emulsion, glass, foam board. Then we're going to slide that into our UV exposure unit right here. It's a homemade unit using LED lights on the inside. I can show you the inside what that looks like. And then we're going to make an exposure for 10 minutes and we'll develop it over here. So let's get on with it. So real quickly, this is the inside of my exposure unit. Nothing special here, just some boards I nailed together, and I put a piece of laminate sign material on top of there to make a case. And you can see the LED strips in there that I soldered together. They're all wired up in series. And just turn them on here. They take a second to come on. There we go. So that's our UV light source. We're gonna put our coated emulsion and our digital negative in there. We're gonna expose it to UV light for 10 minutes, and then we will develop. All right, this is the best part of the platinum printing process. This is where the magic happens. There's our exposed print. You can see a little bit of a ghost image on there. I'm going to drop this in the tray here. And here's my developer. It's in some hot water. It is at about 110 degrees roughly. That's about where I like it, somewhere over 100. Just going to give that a little bit of a shake here. And then we are going to make a print real quick. So I'm just going to dump my developer on. We'll start moving the tray back and forth. Oh yeah, beautiful, beautiful. It's almost an instantaneous development, although they do recommend that you continue to agitate for about a minute, just to develop any of the highlights, basically. I guess the blacks develop first, there's the shadows, and then you want to develop the highlights last a little bit. And it looks like we've got a really good exposure here. I almost considered bumping it up a couple of minutes because I didn't know if 10 was going to be exactly enough, because my test strip was really small. I really just focused on the nest area, and I really didn't get anything down here. But from what I'm seeing, I think it worked out really well. 10 minutes was just about perfect. So give this a couple more minutes, a few more shakes here, and we'll throw her into the clearing agent. Then we'll wash it and we'll clear it again. We'll probably do that about 3 or 4 times before we finish this print. But so far, I think I'm pretty happy with it. Let's take a peek at that. And there it is. There is our print. I think once we wash it, some of this yellowing that you see, that's from the emulsion. We'll get rid of that and it'll come more white, like the base paper. Don't know if we'll get it exactly white because there is a little bit of stuff there on the negative. So it's not going to be pure white, but we will definitely bring some whites out of it after we clear. So I'm going to drop it into the clearing agent here. And we're going to give that about 5 minutes in the clearing agent. I'll keep rocking this back and forth. Then we'll wash it for a few minutes and we'll put it back in the clearing agent. We'll wash it again and we'll put it back. So all told, we're probably going to have probably 15 or 20 minutes of washing and clearing to get this print exactly where we want it. So I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me do this. So when the print is done, I will show it to you. And there it is, our finished print. Washed probably 6 times. I think we got her pretty good. I think it's a really nice looking print. It's got some really good detail in the nest area. Very shallow depth of field. This is really what I was going for. This was my vision from the beginning, that I was going to make a platinum print out of this. We'll let this dry down overnight. Things will darken up a little bit once they're dry, but overall I think we're pretty satisfied, and this one's going to go in a frame. And this will end week 16.